Hey everybody, it's Bust with Expedition Trial number 235. Before we get into it, I did want to pull up the patch notes, the 2.0 patch. I think it's live now, it seems to be. There's not a whole lot of changes here as far as expeditions are concerned. Nobody cares about pack your bags. That's just the menace to constructed, not so much expedition. But the biggest thing is they removed the bonus that makes the new card pulls show up more frequently, so everything should be back to the quote unquote normal style of expedition. And then they made a change to the Mending Touch pool, took out Bayou Branch, Hunting Fleet, Divergent Paths, and Sleepy Trouble Bubble, which is a pretty big upgrade. All these cards are complete garbage. And so it's pretty good to see this pool get a little bit better. I thought it was one of the better ones to begin with, anyways. I think Tom Kench is extremely good, and then Soraka is okay. And so nice little updates there. I did want to call out that the site is up to date with the changes to Mending Touch, and then as usual, there won't be a new tier list for the new patch. There's just not enough changes to go and redo that whole thing when there's just a few removals from the from one card pool. So, at any rate, let's move on. Kind of get on the back end of this expedition here. Let's see who we get. I saw the Thresh and was just like, oh man, it's automatically just got to be the Grand Plaza again. That's what we're gonna see here. But with this one, I kind of want to give Nautilus another go. The thing, I've been like on a kind of a mission to have some success with some of these trashy champions. We did just 7 win with Swain, and then I'm pretty sure our last Nautilus trial we just 0-2 dropped it right away. But as far as these pools are concerned, we just drafted Aurelian Soul maybe 2 trials ago. Pretty good primer on him if you want to check that out. Was pretty successful trial with Death's Thresh. This has a lot of the same problems that I have with Nautilus, as to where we don't really like starting with these card pools because you have to find a very workable champion in the second pack. And so there are a lot of card pools that are happy to have a Death's Door Thresh attached to it. Typically something like, Ezreal is fine with it. A lot of even things like Nautilus is fine with it. But you have to have things that want to like really be slow and grindy, and then be able to take advantage of the one-for-one trades you get from this. And it's just tough to find a card pool that wants this pairing. Like, you just can't play with Noxus, right? And so not a huge fan of it. Same thing happens to Nautilus. We almost have to pair him with Shadow Isles and to get ourselves into sea monsters. He really wants 2 things happening in all of his decks. He wants your deck to be tossed, and so most of the toss cards live in Shadow Isles. That's where I should say at least the playable ones, the ones that we're looking for, the 2 units, the 2 cost 1/4 that dies and tosses 2, and then the big one is the Deadbloom Wanderer, the 3 cost 3/2 with toss 3 and lifesteal. And so with Nautilus, you do want to be tossing away those sea monsters so that you can come back and draw them again. But in general, the way I really like to approach sea monsters is from the aspect of being in Twisted Fate and then just drawing a whole bunch of cards. And so we want to use Jaw Hunters to generate our sea monsters. We don't actually want to play any physical sea monsters, but that's not how it applies with Nautilus. He doesn't subscribe to that strategy. You have to be playing Toss, and you have to be playing a lot of physical sea monsters. And so it does require a Shadow Isles pairing. We'll probably just have to take whatever shows up in the second pack. Hopefully it's Maokai, but no guarantees there. And then, at least as far as the cards are concerned, if I wasn't so intent on just drafting this Nautilus, I would recommend the Thresh out of these bad pools, because the Slaughter Dox is extremely good. Riptide is extremely bad. We're not happy with spending either one mana for Guile to stun an enemy. Really not happy about spending 4 mana to stun an enemy, especially when we're not playing any Overwhelm units. And then to make this good, we have to have Nautilus in play, and then the game is typically over if Nautilus is in play anyway. So I'm not a huge fan of Riptide. It's pretty bad and would like to trade it out, but the Slaughter Dox is extremely powerful. So, if you're wanting to go for 7, I'd recommend you just take the Aurelian Soul. But we're flying high here. We're taking the Nautilus and see what we can put together with this. So let's get him pulled up on the site. If you're not familiar, it's ftpbus.com. It's where I keep my collection of all of my expedition materials, if you will. The tier lists, the text, image, and video version are all up here. The guide section has all of our YouTube stuff, and then the set reviews. They're kind of old now, but looks like the set came out around December the 18th. Look at that. I think we give it a little time before they come out, but nonetheless, we'll be over here on the Expedition Helper. We're just going to scroll down to Nautilus and take a peek at what's here. And so the problem with this pool, two things. Number one, the toss cards just don't live here. Like Jettison being the only one that can realistically play in the early game in this pool. And it's just not worth a card in your deck, right? It just I have no desire to play an actual do-nothing card. I don't know how many sea monsters and slaughter docks I would have to actually want to play Jettisons, but it's pretty bad. And so we mentioned the good ways to get to tossing dredgers is fine, but we really prefer the real units and not just 1/1s for one, or just straight up spending a card to do it. And so that's kind of problem number one with this. Number two is all of these commons are horrible. We're pretty happy to have salvage, very happy to have the beast below. You've been warned is okay, but then everything up above is just trash. Like Narwhal's trash, Bubble Bear's trash, Chum the Waters is trash, and Dredgers not getting the trash rating. We'll just say he's passable. And then, down in the rares, there's just another selection of cards that we never really want. Like, we're cool with like one scrap shot, and then otherwise, outside of Jawl Hunters and Abyssal Eye, none of these cards play to the themes we're trying to do. So, that's kind of the real problem with Nautilus here. We really specifically just want these sea monsters, and then we specifically just want these cards that have toss on them, but there's a whole bunch of bloat in here. So that's problem number one. We'll try to work our way around that. Problem number two is we're really looking to be into like Shadow Isles. Like if we pull up the Maokai half, you can at least see that there's reasonable cards over here. There's the Deadbloom Wanderer we mentioned as being important. Thorny Toad was the 2-cost we mentioned as being important. These are both actual like real units. They can come down to the board and interact and give you some value. And then there are a collection of removal spells, things like Doom Beast to help stall out the game. There's a lot of good tools over here in Shadow Isles, but we don't want to be building towards Maokai. He's just not a build aroundable champion, if you will. You're gonna deck yourself if you try to level him up. I feel like we've leveled him up a maximum of 3 times in all the expeditions we've played, and we've probably killed ourselves with him more than that. What you tend to run into with these toss decks is your deck is smaller by design. That's just the way it works in Expedition, and you tend to get to the late game and be in a spot to where you just can't play any physical cards. But we'll see how this pans out. This Nautilus pool, again, very bad. We're building towards the champion here. We'll see what we can get going with this. At least starting with the Slaughter Docks is okay. All right, then I feel like we just have to take the Thresh. I'll pull up the pool to see what's in it, but we are starting with a Deadbloom Wanderer, which is pretty good, and then a Soul Gorger, which can also stall out the game. I do tend to want to be in a little bit more, aggressive style sea monsters when we're playing the actual like Nautilus sea monsters, because we just have to get to deep so quick so that our units get activated, and then we're getting some kind of backdoor value out of the Nautilus. And so I don't really like cards like Soul Gorger because I'm not expecting the game to last that long. We're not really trying to grind it out until we can get to like playing Commander Ladros over and over again. We're just trying to get our sea monsters down and close out the game. But at least this pool, it does have 2 things going for it. Has Deadbloom Wanderer in it, which is the important unit, and then it just has a gigantic pile of removal spells. That's all this Death's Door pool actually is. So things like Grasp of the Undying, Unspeakable Horror, Vengeance, Withering Wail, Atrocity to a degree is okay in these decks. Crumble, the box is not very good, but it is removal. It's just removal on top of removal, and so hopefully we can at least put something together with this. So the Thresh pool doesn't have any good units, but it does have the Deadbloom Wanderer in it. And then this Nautilus pool also doesn't have any good units in it, but hopefully we can kind of piece this together. I'm not really excited about the way that these cards go. And then kind of what we found in the past is we need these tears from the deep pack showing up. I'm going to kind of like tier this off as like the most important thing we're going to find is sea monsters. The second most important thing we're going to find are cards that have toss, and then after that we'll be looking for removal spells and trying to course correct however bad our curve is. And so here, we're always happy to have at least one salvage. I would be okay with two. It's going to help put us in this Terrors from the Deep card pool that we're really wanting to have show up throughout this trial. And at least it has a 2-drop in it. It's not a 2-drop that I'm really excited about, but it can at least be a unit that we can put down on the board and interact with our opponent's stuff. And then here, I'm going to continue down the same path. All of these cards here are pretty horrible. We're not going to have Chronicler of Ruin combos. Vile Feast is the best card out of all of these, but I again want to help ensure that these Terrors from the Deep packs continue to show up. And so I'm going to take these two just to kind of solidify our pool to being in the cards that can produce sea monsters. Still haven't seen any yet, but that is kind of what it is. So here we'll continue to follow our tiering. I don't want more than 2 salvages, but I am okay with 2. So we really won't look to take any more of these. If we get stuck with another one because it has a sea monster, then fine. But I'm not going to go out of my way to pick any more salvages. And again, at least it has a 1-drop with it. Oh man, these packs are horrible. So we can't take the Piltover cards. These are just going to be too far off theme. I want the Unspeakable Horror, but Pesky Spectre is just too bad. It's not worth adding this to our deck, so we have to take these 2 turds over here. I guess this trial is just going to be take whatever pack says Terrors from the Deep at the top, even though that's never going to be a sea monster, apparently. It's just, this is abysmally bad. So here, I don't really want the Skitterer. It doesn't play too well in these style of decks, and I'm kind of holding out that hopefully we can find Vengeances and not have to play Crumbles. So I'm going to take the 2 interactive removal spells down here with the Black Spear and the Grasp. This is absurd, right? We're 8 packs in and just 0 sea monsters whatsoever. This is tough. So with these, I think we have to take the Withering Whale. Well, we could take the Deadweight Deckhand. We can probably actually get some value out of him. If we do end up picking up a Withering Whale in the future. Parlay we're not excited about, but we can't take these Vault of Crowns cards. Both of these are too bad. I am interested in the Withering Whale, but I find that this plays better in like aggressive decks. You tend to have your opponent start to get a bunch of value blocks on your units, and then you clean out their value blocks with Withering Whale. It can, maybe combo it with deckhands, but it's not something I think we're going to be pulling off a lot of here. Oh my gosh, only took us 9 packs. We got a sea monster. Let's slam it. Jeez. Okay. Well, that was enough, I guess. That was all we get. So with these, I'm pretty happy to pick up Fortune Croakers in these decks. When we talk about like the Twisted Fate style of deck, what we're really looking at here is, in this round 0 matchup, we're going to have 30 cards in our deck. So that's 10 less than in Constructed. We're only 15 cards away from Deep, and so after like 5 natural card draws, maybe 1 toss, and then a handful of natural draws like Fortune Croaker or Pull Shark, you're typically able to hit Deep pretty fast. And I think we can probably pull off Fortune Croakers in this style of deck. Slapbot I'm not really excited about, but I don't feel like we really need to go out of our ways to get cards like Vile Feast and Warden Spray. Okay, and again, we take a peek. There's no sea monsters. There's no toss cards. So what does our decision look like here? I believe we want the Unspeakable Horror with the Rekindler. I'm kind of interested in Make It Rain, but the more powder is just too bad. So I think if we're taking an Unspeakable Horror, we want the one that's paired up with the Rekindler. Okay. Oh. I'm curious if we can actually make use of the Ruination. I tend to like to be more on the aggressive side of things with these sea monsters and, with the Nautilus, but we haven't really been given much opportunity to do otherwise. So I think this will have to be okay. I guess we can't really complain about taking the Ruination, but kind of is what it is at this point. The second Slaughter Docks, that'll have to be good enough. Okay. Horrible set of cards again. I think I want the Corsair with the Citrus Courier. I don't really like any of these effects, but we could take Stalking Shadows, but the Risen Mists is just going to be so bad here. I don't want to spend 4 mana on a Mist Wraith, actually, ever. Then The Undying is pretty terrible as well, but this one's pretty tough and close. The Stalking Shadows is the best out of all of these cards. So maybe we can just take it. Ugh. That's all you can really say about these drafts. It just feels horrible. Okay, I think I'm fine to go ahead and pick up the Vengeance. We have enough removal spells for this to be okay. I think the Narwhal just never really plays out that well. All right, well, there you have it. You go through. You start off your draft with the Nautilus. You take like 3 or 4 Terras from the deep packs right at the beginning, and then you see one actual sea monster throughout the entirety of the draft. Like that is like 100% my problem with Nautilus. Like you can't pivot to anything else with Nautilus. Like what else are you supposed to do? So hopefully we can get some trades going because that is not how this deck is supposed to really look. So let's just keep our cheap cards. I'm really tempted to just like hard mulligan for the Slaughter Docks, but that feels a little greedy. What's this, Tom Kench Fizz? Sure. This is it. Our one sea monster. Yeah, I mean that's the thing with this. Like, what are you ever supposed to pivot to with like Nautilus Thresh? Thresh isn't a deck. Thresh is just a bunch of removal spells, and Nautilus has to be in sea monsters or this toss theme. And so, when the one theme doesn't come together, it's just completely brutal. Well, we at least hit a Slaughter Docks. And then I think I'm okay with him just coming in and popping the powder keg if that's what he wants to do. I just want to trade and stall out the board here a little bit. Like I'm pretty sure as long as we just get enough time that we're going to be pretty okay to win this game. And as it stands, we can Sapling Toss, hook his Fizz next turn. Even though Fizz isn't like a real high value target, we're not going to get a much better Sapling Toss, and we can get our Slaughter Docks on board. Okay. Well, that's that has to be good for us. Oh, we got rid of Riptide. Beautiful. Nobody ever wants Riptide. So if we like salvage, no, we can't do it fast enough. It's going to be 2 turns either way. I was trying to see if we like salvage is going to get rid of 4 cards, and then we have Stalking Shadows, but none of that's really going to play out here. Have any units we can get on board. I think we want a Stalking Shadows Unspeakable Horror and just see if we can't pick up a unit. But all of this sounds pretty terrible. We could probably just bank the 3 spell mana. Like if we play the Stalking Shadows, we don't have any units we really want to play as it is. Well, let's at least be efficient with all of our mana. Oh, and we tossed a sea monster? Nice. Okay. I haven't got to play too much Slaughter Docks, so I want to make sure this works right. What? Did we just hit deep? Oh, we hit deep on the card draw. Okay. This seems fine. We can try to chum the waters as White Flame Protector if we want. We can. Our hand is structured in a way that we can kind of stall for a bit if that's what it takes to stop and see what he plays. Would rather hit the Wave Rider than the dragon. We can just block the dragon forever. Let's get this attack in here. Trying. Let's go trick shot. Make that decision. We're getting our shark in here. What is this, long tooth? Oh man, I forgot. I forgot to go to make a premium card. You all got to remind me of this shit. It's your fault, not mine. I never do anything wrong. So, what is a reasonable choice? I do like to go for the units. Maybe we go for Warden's Prey, since he generates more cards. That's how you get the most value with these premiums, is the generators. So, seems like a valid choice. Oh, get a toilet phone? Happens sometimes. Sometimes people drop their phone in the toilet. You play while you're taking a shit. Something goes wrong. You drop your phone in the toilet. It happens. I think that might have happened here. Wait, slaughter docks. Are we gonna get a victory with Nautilus? I mean, that's infinitely more wins than the previous trial. So just gonna DC him. Oh, it's his attack? Oh.
What does he want from me?
This is gonna take forever. There we go. Alright, so I don't feel like we have to take the Nautilus pack, but I kind of want to. Like, I definitely don't want any more Threshes. I really just want sea monsters more than Nautilus himself, and he thankfully comes with one here. So I think this is probably about as good as it's going to get, right? It's got a one-cost card in it for an early play, a sea monster, and a Nautilus. I mean, I think that's as good as we can really ask for. So, go ahead and pick that one up. We'll go back and go to the store. There's Warden's Prey at. Get you. Welcome to the Shiny Club, bro. Alright, now we're prepared. I'm surprised we didn't lose that game because we forgot to make our cards feel good. Oh, jeez. Okay. Teemo with Lux. I would like to find a way to get Teemo online. So I know I want to get rid of these. The Fortune Croaker, like, the problem with him is we just don't have any early game plays that can survive it. And so it's like, it's okay to just play as a 2-3, but I don't think we really need to here. So I want to mulligan for A, removal spells to try to answer a Teemo if that's his play, and then B, the Slaughter Docks.
How can I help? Excuse me?
I don't feel like it's something that we just need to slam down. Pretty close to getting pretty close to just slamming it when we have Jettison, but
Have a mushroom. Have 3.
and I don't feel like there's much value in attacking with this. The kind of short answer to wanting to attack with it is, you know, our units don't have overwhelm, and we're going to have to chunk through this stuff anyways, and so, you know, we're going to have to get this trade for Eager Apprentice at some point, but not attacking keeps his Puffcat Peddlers from attacking. I have to assume he's never going to hit with these. Okay, we can go deep at the start of our next turn. We're going to get blasted by this, which is pretty scary. But that's going to draw 2. That gets us 6 away. We can jettison. Please cancel 2 damage here. But I think that's how this works, right? Do you draw the card before round start? guess we're about to get a knowledge bomb. I'm not quite familiar with how this actually plays out. I think you draw your card and then the round start things happen. False. Incorrect. Incorrect. Hang on, that worked out right. We'd hit deep, okay.
What do you mean I'm not on the list?
Ugh. He doesn't have any additional plays once he adds that. Oh, it's not deep either. That just kind of sucks for him. Okay, so I mean we're pretty healthy as far as puff caps are concerned when we have 0. So this is not a very productive set of turns for this guy. How do we want to pursue this? Probably just play a Black Spear. Really have anything else we can do with our hand? Our other choices just to play Chum the Waters. Okay. Not ideal, but still bigger than his board. The Death Ray, sure.
My pretty.
Our deck will start being pretty concentrated. We don't have very many cards in our deck, so probably don't want to do anything to draw cards for the rest of the game.
I got ways to find me mushroom.
Okay, so if he's just going all in with the blocks here, I think we're pretty good. He probably can't actually block this if he ever wants to win. Has to keep his peddler. I think this is fine. The Soul Gorger's going to be pretty good here.
Put on me mask, secure me tail, start the day.
Happy to do whatever's needed. I learned that in class.
Can deal 4 into this. It doesn't seem ideal, but we're never stopping all of its attacks.
Oh, that's a harvest right there.
But he doesn't have anything. This will be lethal, right? We'll get 6 in from the Abyssal Eye. We'll get 4 damage in through. Oh. I guess that play got canceled. Not even really excited about attacking with the Abyssal Eye. I'm certainly going to play it. But we are about to start getting like 4 and 5 and 6 damage chunks each turn. 7 damage chunks. It's, let's see what he kind of picked up here. So I think there's a pretty good chance we don't make it back to our next turn. And that is the actual perfect of draws. Oh man, it's like we can't even get it off the board to try to go wider than him. I think we still have to send all of our units in to get this thing out of here. And then just try to get wider without drawing cards. We can get a punch in next turn.
Excuse you.
That technique.
'Fooled him.
really hoping that he just drew a spell here. That would have been the ideal thing to have happen. Ever playing pick a card? Alrighty, let's see if we can survive these puff caps. Nope. Okay.
You cannot escape judgment.
Kinda is what it is. So, let's see. Never picking up Riptides. Like, I would be okay with Blighted Caretaker. We just don't have the support for it. We don't have enough early game cards. I think I'm just going to pick up the Double Trouble. The pick a card just is an actual do nothing here. So, Double Trouble it is. At least have something to get some early game plays on the board. This deck's just so abysmally bad. Like, I don't want to be like too salty about it, but this is brutal. And then I saw the Articuno show up on the little expedition cycling cards, and it's like, oh, this is what it's like when you draft Elnix, huh? you start out a draft where you have like a troop in your Articuno pack, and then you find a troop like pack 4, and then you just don't find any troops or bulls for the rest of the run. And you're just like, oh, this deck is just shitty. Like, through no fault of my own, what was I supposed to do? Okay. Tarek Riven. I'm trying to think if we'll ever get value out of this parlay. I guess if we have, like, starting with a deckhand, we can probably be okay, but I still kind of want to follow this theme of just trying to, like, mulligan for Slaughter Docks. It's okay. It's at least a interactive start.
The chains, they never stop.
Okay, we'll take the block if he comes in. Lost a Vengeance in there, kind of sucks. Oh, I had our attack token backwards. So, what like, Pale Cascade does this play here, right? Either Pale Cascade or Targon Shield. Targon Shield we don't care about. I think this is okay either way. We can just play cleanup, work with Parlay deckhand. Sure. Take a 3 for 2. Feels like that was awfully aggressive. We probably just have to punch in. It's pretty easy for him to just have like Tarek or Riven or any 3-drop, like 3/3 for 3. Okay. All the started stompers.
The three are unrivaled.
Sure. We have like the worst set of units to hook 2020.
Is that all you got?
Just prevent, right? I'm not super interested in parlaying this thing, but the longer this game goes, the better shape we're going to be in.
Be nothing left when I'm done.
Oh, cool. All right. That was an interesting game. How can we improve here? Okay. So I think, I mean, I've been talking a lot about just wanting to pick up all the sea monsters. We have gotten up to 2. We have 2 Abyssal Eyes. That's pretty big, right? That's pretty big. But with these, I think it's probably more important to get rid of the Risen Mists, and then we're also picking up a toss card in the process. And so Sapling Toss, while not great, it's at least marginally playable. It's kind of a way to interact. This Risen Mist is just 100% terrible in this deck. Alright, that's all we can do. Little incremental improvements. Brutally bad deck. I see. I see so many of these cards and just like, whew, this is bad. This is bad. These suck. Okay, so we're certainly hanging on to Wanderer. Again, like, I'm not quite sure of the balance I want to do of just like mulliganing for the Slaughter Docks. We can't really just like hard mulligan for Slaughter Docks. Aurelion Soul Zoe with 2 Aurelion Souls. Let's do this. Let's get rid of Black Spear. Let's see, I'm not like counting on him playing an early game Vengeance, or I have a Vengeance, the early game Zoe, but I'd like to have an answer to her if that's what he's trying to pull off. And the moderately frightening thing about this is he can pick up the Obliterate, so you can obliterate our Slaughter Docks with that 6 mana spell. But this gets us deep faster and gives us a way to interact with this guy, so I wanted to get him down. And we can't do this, right? This is 5-6 cards, so our card... as we did learn, the toss happens before the card draw. So this is only going to be 5, would be 1 short from pulling all of that off. So let's just add Slot Pod. Then salvage. Okay.
The treasure was in me the whole time.
This has always been my big concern with playing against Invokes, is they just generate so much value on top of you that it's really hard to close out these games. You can just block the sea monsters over and over again with this just kind of giant value train, and then they'll eventually just be like, oh, here's a giant dude. So we should be able to successfully pull off the docks now. Oh shit. I didn't realize we were 3 away. I thought we can Stalking Shadows, I guess. Oh, it's just cheaper because of the thing? Ah, fuck me. I was just considering him having 6 mana. I didn't realize this thing was gonna screw us over here. Alright, let's just bank.
What did we get? So much to play for.
Back, heretic.
Okay.
Constellations are stories in the sky.
Okay, so let's at least go ahead and, I mean, we have to spend our mana on something, so let's get this guy out of here. The rest of our hand isn't super worthwhile to be adding to the board, and then we'll bank up to 3 before adding Nautilus next turn. We're going to have an extremely hard time winning this without that Slaughter Dock, so I was not counting on just losing our unit. I thought he couldn't obliterate. Alright, Nautilus, let's get him. Okay. Just doesn't have an animation for the cards going back in. Okay, then I mean, I feel like we might as well just go ahead and add these units. We're just going to attack with Nautilus and he's going to block. Like, this is not, there's not like a whole lot going on here that we can really change about the situation. I think, you know, ignoring the fact that, you know, we're playing Nautilus, I think that this matchup really showcases all of my problems with the sea monsters on the whole. Like, their kind of design space, at least in my opinion, was, you know, they were a big late game payoff, right? You're going to take the time to get a bunch of units, get, you know, all these cards out of your deck to make your expensive cards into like really powerful cards. So it's like, you know, you're overpaying for the unit on the small side, but then it's a pretty big deal on the big side. I think we just Soul Gorger. But then it's just like immediately in the set right after Sea Monsters, they're just kind of like, oh yeah, by the way, we're just going to print the infinite value engine and just really take that space away from them. So it's like the Sea Monsters theme needs to be like pushed down the curve, right? I think, you know, for them to be interesting, they really need to be, wow, he went units and just didn't try to draw Aurelion Souls. We're so host this game. Like, he's just gonna block with the messengers and Moondreamers until he can play Aurelion Soul and just kill us. But no, like, you know, it has to be pushed down the curve to where you're kind of all in on getting these expensive units out cheaper and building towards toss and getting the payoff in the early game to the mid game, as opposed to trying to be some kind of late game theme. Let's just spend our mana. Our health is never gonna matter. Okay, well, you can at least do something. This could be our our route to victory. Yep. Do we want to kill it or do we want to Riptide it? Probably just want to go ahead and vengeance it. Just want to bring it all, right? Get value blocks on these little guys, but we have enough stuff to just refill the board. Let's at least do this right.
Come on, chase!
Sure. Chunking for 9. Now successfully lose our Nautilus and bringing back with the Rekindler. Okay. All right, there we go. Can we get him with the elusives? We got our chance, boys. We got our chance. I don't think we ever care about this, right? He's just gonna hook Thresh with it. Getting ripped out it. I don't think that's a huge deal. That's what we want to rip at. But I guess as it stands, we don't have to care. We can have 2 challengers next turn, so let's just protect our Thresh. I think we'll be okay. Okay, then I can never remember if this Thresh hook will bring out a second Nautilus. Let's find out real quick. Nope. Does bring out the Nautilus. But it didn't show it when we had the I don't know. That's weird. I get real confused when it says like the first time I attack, but it doesn't mean it until he flips, and then we put him out there and look at the eye, and it doesn't show like typically if it's supposed to be an unknown card, it'll show it like face down. Like if you're going to put a card into your hand, it'll show the card in your hand face down. So it's weird it didn't put like a face down card on the board so we could see our Nautilus out there. Anywho. I mean, I guess, like, I don't really want 3 Nautiluses, but what else? What else are we doing here? Shipwreck Hoarder is the one that I actually want. I think, are we okay with that? Can't toss your champions. Toss is obliterate X non-champion cards from the bottom of your deck. So it's not something I really want multiple copies of because his flip is so bad. But I guess, play him and then his flip's a removal spell. It's not the end of the world. I'm just seeing the Shipwreck Hoarder down here is the card that I realistically want to be picking up. But hey, we're building a Nautilus. Let's just pick up the 3rd one, I guess. Alright, and off we go. You don't know, if you move your mouse faster, it'll find you a match faster. See, it worked. It would have taken at least 30 seconds if we weren't moving our mouse around. Alright. Lux Teemo Part 2, but this time stacked on Lux. Let's see how this goes. Kind of okay with all of this. We should probably get rid of Abyssal Eyes. But otherwise, I think this is okay. I want to hang on to Sapling Toss in case he has one of these early Teemos. Then otherwise, we can just try to punch deep as fast as we can.
The chains, they never stop.
Should have arguably just not played this so that we could try to Unspeakable Horror next turn. But okay. I'm kind of worried with this. Like, if he was a base Teemo deck, then I would be all about just coming in and throwing blocks on these cards, because the way that they tend to beat you is they'll get you to like 12 or they'll get you to 10, and then just close out the game with a bunch of puff caps, like that puff cap guy we ran into earlier in the trial. But I don't think that's what this guy's going to be doing. And now it kind of leaves us in a spot. I'm going to add the Slaughter Docks. Just because we can like churn this out so quickly. But this was my big worry, is that he's going to add a card and be able to open attack on us.
They grow up so fast.
Really strange seeing. I mean, maybe he's just playing 2 and 2. I mean, the Lux isn't, or the Teemo isn't like super important in the puff cap decks, but
Runaway bike.
kind of strange seeing this play out like this. Then we probably just have to get on board.
Coming in hot.
Think I'm still like a yodel in uniform?
sucks losing those Dead Bloom Wanderers. So I mean, we have a couple choices here. We need to start churning through our deck. We can hit through 8. 5, 6, 7. We can get our sea monster next turn if we want. So let's go that route.
I don't change fate, but I can see it.
I was like, oh boy, here comes an aftershock. He can still do it. He still has 4 mana. But let's see how abysmal this is. He'd have snapped it off if he had it, right? He's not just going to let a sea monster. Okay. Might be okay now. Feel a little better that we can start doing things with Soul Gorger. Like, he can't open attack on us because we have blockers. I mean, he technically can, but I think this is okay. You can't draw any more cards. That's always the scary thing here with these Abyssal Eyes against Puffcap decks is getting your attacks in and actually physically drawing cards. Don't feel like we can really win this game, but there's no give up in us. We're ready to go. Yeah, that was a big decision. Look at that, swirlies. Oh man. Alright. I guess it's not as bad as it was in that previous game where we were drawing like 6 and 7 puff caps at a time. Should only be like 1.5.
Living dead, no matter.
That's a harvest right there.
Does Nautilus count? No, I didn't think Nautilus counted as a sea monster. Let's do it this way. We'll start with the Bark Beast, and we're just gonna Thresh. Maybe Parlay, maybe, but I don't think we'll have any Parlay targets. Damage? Okay. Okay. Let's draw these cards. I don't think we have a lot more choices. Oh, Purify, cool. Okay.
Would a mushroom help?
Excuse you.
Seems okay. Getting some of that big chunk damage in. Okay, so I mean the thing, I guess we have to kind of think about it. Is this, I don't know how many draws he's had, but he's most likely has that thing that the Death Ray Mark III. So he could probably just kill any of our bros that he feels like taking down. But we do have pretty good control of his board here. We've got 12 cards left, 3 of which are Nautilus. So if we set, maybe we can set this up where if we draw Nautilus next turn, we can have 2 hooks, and then take down whatever blockers he has, and get the Nautilus punch in. Seems reasonable.
Officer J.S. Harknor, Unit 6.
We don't die to puff caps. That's a pretty big hit. That was a big chunk. Beam. Okay. So, if we have 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, we're 1 short. Alright, this will bring back Thresh. Don't have enough way to kill enough units. We can't get both of our Abyssal Eyes down, which kind of sucks. And I don't really want to be on this Soul Gorger plan, but I think that's the only way we have to go about it. Let me double check this real quick. So we play the Rekindler. That gives us Thresh. He plays any unit. We hook here. We hook his new unit with Thresh. Yeah, we got 4, 7, 10, 12. Otherwise, we're mana short of playing both Abyssals. We play Abyssal Eye. Hook this. He has a blocker on our big boy. This would be 6, 9, 10, 11. Also short. Guess we have to try to ground it out for another attack step. It's pretty scary.
I'd like to file an equipment request.
Another leak-proof pen, Harkner?
Right. Oh. Sure.
Beg your pardon? Scoundrel!
So many purifies. Alright, so let's see how this goes. We should be taking like 3.5 turns. Should only take 7. Nautilus will ideally let us shuffle some more bros back in our deck.
Blood and salt!
No, 0. It's alright.
I got ways to find me mushrooms.
Alright, so I'm going to assume that we're just dead here, but taking 7 was a bit much.
Pay debt.
But let's roll the dice, I guess.
Together at last.
Calibrated for impact.
I will not rest.
Let's protect our sea monsters. He has to have that 3 damage to a unit card at this point, so might as well protect our Abyssal Eyes. He knows. He's gonna kill me on this card draw, or we're just gonna win. Okay, sure.
You cannot escape judgment.
All right, so we take a look. There's no sea monsters yet again. So let's just get the worst card out of our deck. Probably rather just get rid of Chum the Waters here. But, I mean, we're never going to play... Like, I mean, I'm trying to think of these situations where we ever want multiple rekindlers. I mean, we don't have any combos with it. If our Nautilus is dead and coming back, then that game has gone weird. I think we can just hang on to the Chum so we can interact. Let's get rid of Parlay for Slotbot, though. I do like having some of these at least early game plays for when we don't draw the Dead Bloom Wanderer or the Slaughter Docks. So I think that's okay. Parlay's pretty weak here. Alright, Teemo Part 3. Seems reasonable. I'm thinking of just getting rid of the Croaker as well, but they have... I worry about this as just being, you know, another Teemo deck, but they do have, like, if he starts with a armed Gearhead or something, then I want to be able to have a card to put in front of it.
I've whipped up something special.
I'll buy us some time.
Okay. And I think we should just continue to get on board with the units. We're not in a big hurry to start getting the Slaughter Docks going, and then I don't really want to leave it susceptible to a Aftershock against this full built-over deck. I think we can find a better spot for this. So many Puffcap decks. This is not what you're wanting to play against with the sea monsters when you're churning through so much of your deck. It makes the density for the Puffcap so much higher.
Runaway bite.
Absolutely. Let's probably do it this way. Seeing this, I'm not quite sure what this guy's up to. This seems like a really strange set of plays from this kind of guy. Just Death Rays? Beautiful. Have fun drawing those over and over again.
I've always been a fun guy.
Don't really want Cygnus. Again, I guess we can give our Nautilus elusive and try to win that way, but not really what we were trying to pull off here. Isn't like the only play we have, but it's pretty close to it. This is extremely bad. To have so many cards in your hand and just not actually be able to play anything. This is just about as brutal as it gets. This is like, what are we gonna do next turn? Are we really gonna just like Vengeance and Ezreal? No, we want to Slaughter Dock Salvage, so we can at least get the sea monster. But that's like the all you can really say about this trial. It's just
Sounds dangerous. I'm in. Can't stop me.
Okay, so I mean, are we just gonna play to getting blown out by a Aftershock, I think I'm okay with it. What else are we doing with our mana if we don't go for the Aftershock? Like, we're adding things like Bark Beasts and... Here it comes, though. That's right, cool. Alright. Let's see what we can do with a single sea monster. Jeez. Forgot we even had the Ruination. Okay, so I mean with here, I don't think we have to get the Abyssal Eye down. We can start trying to just Riptide things. We can Riptide 2 units next turn, so I think I'm pretty okay with just adding Nautilus and seeing if we can't just take that route. Since you can actually, as much as I don't like Riptide, you can do it in combat. Feels like that buff count should be like way higher. It seems like we've already taken 2 damage from him. As after that previous game, I just feel like every time they play a spell, we're getting popped by buff caps. Alright, he's got to block at least one of these. That's really suspect that he didn't play any cards. I guess he could have like Hextech Transmogulator or something. I'm not real sure what his angle is by not playing anything, unless he's just kind of like Progress Day. Just want to redraw some of these. That sounds abysmal. Okay. Discarded a gotcha. He should have a really tough time just killing us with Ezreal. As the first opportunity we get, I'm going to Riptide him. And he hits a Sumpworks map? Are you serious? Wow. Wow. Okay. That's one way to play the game. I mean, I guess if we were planning on just Riptiding away all his units, it doesn't change anything, but... Put some damage on Nautilus. Okay. So we're at 3. He has pretty good chances of drawing those Victor shots, whatever you want to call it. Okay, we should be okay with drawing this. Oh, we killed his Ezreal anyway, so... Victor shots. That sounds like a about right name for it. Okay.
The waters cannot be sated.
Let's see. Jaw Hunters is exactly what we're looking for here. Well, not exactly. We really prefer to have physical sea monsters as much as it pains us to say that, but we can't pass up on the physical sea monster card. I think I would like some of these life gain things, but need these more. Jaw Hunters. Oh, it's rare. Okay, I haven't gotten to rares yet. I've been pushing my way through these premium cards. I'm going with the common units, and then the whatever commons are left, as long as it's in our deck, and then we'll upgrade to rares and epics, so on. we'll eventually just get actual all the cards, because that's the way it goes, right? So I was like, man, Jal Hunters would have been a great upgrade, just making all of our sea monsters shiny, but he's got a while to go. He's got, pretty sure it's rare. And disconnect here. I was hoping we could play another Teemo deck. Teemo's quite popular today. There we go. Let's disconnect. Try that again. More Teemo. There we are. So much Teemo. Alright. It's only got one copy, but I think Unspeakable Horror is good enough to hang on to. He's a rare. Hunting the jaws. So that is. Is that some kind of sea monster? Is that what a jaw is? It looks like they're inside of like a sea monster's mouth. No, that's a boat just with teeth on it. I don't know. Anywho. Alright, nothing we can do. Really don't like taking these chunk damage against it. I mean, this feels like a Puffcalf deck, you know. Looks like a duck and quacks like a duck. It's probably a duck, but
Vessel small, but she ain't lacking courage.
let's see what we can get going on here. He passes, I'll pass. I'd rather try to get a hook on a like a Puffcalf Peddler, and we're not super interested in getting damage in right here. Interesting. Gotta have the removal, yeah. Okay, so we just have to double trouble. We can't let him open on us for 6 damage. We just 100% lose that way. And a gem. Looky there. Not a lot to do. Our curve is an abysmal mess. That's why I don't like drafting 3 Nautiluses. This is why I don't like drafting the physical sea monsters in general, I should say. It's number one, I don't like drafting 3 Nautilus. I don't like the physical sea monsters either. It's just given the chance to like just play strictly Jal Hunters. Okay.
Protector, shield me.
I was trying to craft together this play where we ends with us hooking Puffcalf Peddler, but if we're able to just clear out his whole board, I'm okay with that. Let's bank this full 3. We can't do anything else, so we might as well jettison. We might be okay. It depends on what we can get going on with these Soul Gorgers. To Abyssal Eye. No need to draw cards here. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we can draw a card and not overdraw. Things Zux here is probably just going to open on us. It's a big chunk of damage. I don't want to have to Vengeance here. I really, really want to be adding Soul Gorgers. Maybe we can get away with it.
Living dead, no matter.
Ooh, he's going to have the expensive shiny. Look at you, bruh. Look at you. As it stands, I mean, we'll just try to get another Soul Gorger on board so we can attack next turn. I don't want to be like playing Lure from the depths in the event that we like have to play Vengeance. I don't know what card he would be adding that would make us like have to play Vengeance into it, but drawing the Sea Monster cards doesn't do anything here. Okay. So how scared do we have to be of this assembly bot? I don't think too much. You can like double Puff Cap to take this up to a 6. So I mean we're probably gonna lose a Soul Gorger, but we're probably gonna lose it either way. So I think I'm fine to just go ahead and add it. And we kind of want things to go this way, so if we take Puff Cap damage on this card draw, then we can heal it up with our Soul Gorgers. Interesting. Why wouldn't you kill the big attack one? Like, he's most certainly just going to Puff Cap and kill this thing, right? There's no way he tries to let us get multiple life steals.
Pay debt. I've always been a fun guy.
So many animations. Okay. Back to 20.
Once I stamp papers, now faces.
Alright. See if he's afraid to open on us again.
Can you improve perfection?
The only scary one is this. We're probably going to have to count on playing Vengeance this turn, but we at least drew something cheap in the Slaughter Docks last turn so that we can try and get this going a little bit. I don't really like advertising that we're probably not going to play any units, but I think that we have to plan on Vengeancing here. We fall to 6 mana if we don't play it. What if... Or what if we just play Nautilus? We're not deep, but he is a big old boy that can just block this thing. But if he has like a... well, I guess if it comes down to it, we can't Stalking Shadows to get out of it. 7, we're only going to have 4 mana, but we could salvage. What happens if we just plan on playing the Slaughter Docks, though? Kill both of his units, take 6, heal 3, fall to 15. Okay. I think I'm okay with this. Curious if the way that we probably messed this up was... I don't know if we would have ever had a way to get him to 12, but 12 would be the important break point in killing him with Abyssal Eyes. Still feels like we messed this up if we're not going to go deep. But it's going to hit with everything now. We're going to lose our Abyssal Eye.
Already forgotten.
Does this look? Are we dead? Nope. But can we ever win this game from this point? Probably not. I think we probably messed this up. letting have ignitions. I think that's okay. And I guess the puff caps at this point aren't like super relevant, so we probably should try to take down this thing. Definitely sure.
There they go.
Not super excited with how we played this. Okay.
System upgrade.
Do we just like have to get this thing up? What did we just? Oh wow! Oh wow! We messed up our toss as well. Okay, that's gonna do it. We just completely threw that game away. We did not we did not play that one well. I kind of stand by the Slaughter Dogs play. I don't really like it, but not realizing our guy wasn't gonna flip was pretty bad. These are abysmal. Like we need to get our curve lower, but I mean Bark Beasts aren't very good in our deck, so we at least have a early game interactor here. And I'm just trying to get you all the most value. We've been right on track for a 13 game expedition. So it's been a while since we've given you guys all the value. Jesus, so much Teemo today. This is like I'm already salty about like having to play this Nautilus deck and then running into Teemo literally like 5 of our 7 games has been fairly annoying.
Don't worry, I've read all about this. Just as I hypothesized.
I don't think we can block here. There's a good chance that he's doing fish bones things. And so we might find a 1 health unit on his next attack. Right, that's what you typically see out of Bilgewater, Piltover, Jinx Fizz. It's the base 1-drop deck. I could see him wanting to have Teemo as an additional 1-drop. Okay.
I never.
You got it, boss. Let's see, is he going to open on us or not? He doesn't have to worry about plunders because of the Corsair. I would not be surprised to see him just play 2 units this turn.
Putting study into practice.
Who's on top of the bounty board today?
He was getting into combat this turn. The annoying thing is he can hook this way over on the left, so we only gain 2 health. Like, we're going to take the 1 from this thing, and but it's not awesome for us.
Orders. Bullet to the face.
Can we survive to the Soul Gorge here? That's what this one's going to come down to. And I would love to just play Fortune Croaker and not and not have any of our units die. This one is supremely awkward in that we think we just have to chum the waters. I want to hook this thing and survive the combat. Oh, really wish we could just play this as a unit. We technically still can. We can play it and just kill our Warden Spray, but... Oh boy.
You pay! I talk to spirits! These are my rules!
The Poros. Alrighty. At least he doesn't have any of his big activators, so it's going to come down to if we can get Soul Corcher going. This deck has a lot of trouble dealing with Soul Corchers, as one could imagine. Oh, double trouble. If he doesn't open on us, we can get multiple bros down. This could be good. This could be good. Alright, Pix is the... oh, fuck. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Alrighty. That's... sometimes you just draw perfect. What more can you say about that? You go hellbent on your turn and then immediately draw Jinx. That's certainly one way to do it.
Confine and contain.
Okay.
Halt.
We will resist.
You pay.
You just gotta prevent as much as we can.
This is outrage. Contain magic.
Well, the Harrowing's typically an exciting pickup. They're not really in a spot to where we can take advantage of it.
Husks in my way.
Curious if he'll ever block with his Jinx.
Slaughter the living.
I'm gonna just have to venture a guess that he won't. At least the kind of saving grace with this attack is he can't kill this with a Death Rocket. He has another removal spell and Death Rocket to take down our Soul Corcher. Then congrats, but
What do I do? What don't I do?
so I mean we have the Riptide onto Jinx, so we're just gonna take 2. Might be able to turn the corner here. This is so brutal. You gotta spend 4 mana and then just can't add a unit to the board. This is why this curve is ultra shitty. There's not a lot of other just nice ways to put it. I mean, at least the positive here is we only took net 1 damage on that attack. We have to either add Slaughter Docks or Lure of the Depths. Our actual sea monsters draws are limited to the Abyssal Eye, which is not that exciting. But like the Slaughter Docks just actually does nothing. I guess the Abyssal Eyes at least interact positively with these little turds. I guess that's what we're doing. Oh boy. Alright, so we're just going to be dead. Well, we should probably have a turn, but can't even Harrowing to try to gain 3. You know you're in a good spot when that's what your plays sound like. I want to play the Harrowing just to gain 3 life. Brutal run. Can't imagine we ever have a way to win this game. If this is what this guy's doing, popping off his own units to empty out his hand to play Death Rocket, we're never surviving this turn. Okay. So we get to look at some animations. Is this going? Look at that. Get him. What a frustrating game. I mean, like, what more are you supposed to say about this? Like, literally, that's exactly what happened. He's playing two Jinxes. We're in the really early game. He discards the last card out of his hand to Poro Cannon, and then immediately draws Jinx the turn after. Like, okay, like, well played, I guess. You did it. I gotta, I gotta take a shower after this trial to wash off all the salt. But this one was just brutal. Like, I don't have fun playing Nautilus, and these games were abysmal. So, but we got through it. The trial is done. Don't have to do that ever again. Jesus. So, okay. To come back to the deck here. This is like the whole host of problems that you have with Nautilus, and I touched on them the previous time we drafted him, and I was just kind of like, well, maybe it's not that bad, and we need to give him another chance, and it is just this bad. Like, he is structurally just horrible. So I'll start with the way that we typically like to draft sea monsters. Avoids the gigantic problem that we had in like every single game from like this round forward, like these last four games. To where the way we typically want to draft sea monsters is we're playing either Twisted Fate or we're playing another Bilgewater champion that isn't Nautilus is typically just Twisted Fate, and then you don't actually play sea monsters. You just play the normal Twisted Fate game where you're playing, your Pool Sharks and your Fortune Croakers, and you're drawing a whole bunch of cards. And then since it's Expedition, you just have a smaller deck, and so it makes it much easier to just go deep using strictly just Twisted Fate, a handful of Pool Sharks and things. But then if you actually want to get your sea monsters, you just get them with Jal Hunters. We play Jal Hunters. If we get Devourer of the Depths, that's the epic that kills units, then fine, we'll play it. If we have to run one or two Abyssal Eyes or one or two of the four-cost guy, then fine. If we have two or three physical sea monsters in our deck, it's not the end of the world. But that's not what our deck is trying to do, and so being like this Twisted Fate deck with just a whole bunch of like cheap units in it, you very rarely run into these curve issues to where it was like, well, let's look at this turn. Okay, we have 6 mana and 2 spell mana. We can play one card. Like, that's it, or we can play a Slaughter Dox and no units, or we can play a Slaughter Dox and no spells, and it's just like a do nothing. Like, it's just savage seeing that over and over again. And that, it just doesn't happen with the Twisted Fate deck. Your cards are so cheap, your curve is like average cost of like 2.2, and then you can just slam through it and spend all of your mana every turn. You don't have these stupid turns like we had in this one, to where it's you go, okay, do I add my one Abyssal Eye and then have 5 mana left over that I can't play because the rest of my hand is just like vengeances and stuff, or it just completely solves that problem. So, like, thing number one with sea monsters, that is how you want your deck to actually look. You want it to be a whole bunch of card draw, and you want it to be based on Jal Hunters. So, problem number 2 that I have with Nautilus here is, we were going for the Nautilus build around. We did everything we were supposed to. We took this Thresh second that already has the toss card in it. Ideally it's a Maokai, but we're ready to be in sea monsters. We have our toss card, we have our Slaughter Dox, we have our Nautilus. Like, let's make the sea monsters happen here. So, like, Narwhal Salvage, Sea Monsters pack, Limbs from Beyond, Bark Beast. This was again, like a Terrace from the Deep pack. I'm pretty sure Warden's Prey Salvage was a Terrace from the Deep, and Chum the Waters Sapling Toss. I'm pretty sure this is where we pivoted into some. Well, no, that's both. Like, I don't like 100% fully remember if these first 4 packs were all Terrace from the Deep. But I do 100% remember that none of these packs have sea monsters in it. I'm pretty confident that we took every single pack that had a sea monster in it, and at the end of the trial did we have 1 or did we have 2? At the end of the draft part, I think we had 1. Yeah, and so, like, what are you supposed to do? Like, you're in this deck, you have to be doing sea monsters if you want to do Nautilus, and then they just don't show up. So, with like the other card pools, we say, like, well, Twisted Fate's fine, he's a useful champion, we can pivot to something else. Or if we're drafting Riven, there's like 3 or 4 different decks we can draft with Riven, or you can draft with Teemo. There is just not with Nautilus. Like, what do we do with Nautilus if we aren't playing this like toss sea monsters theme? We just have a 7-cost do nothing champion in our deck. Like, that's awesome. Like, so, like, that's problem number 2 with what's happening with this is there's just actual nothing to pivot to. The card pool is like super bloated, so it's hard to actually hit the cards that you want to hit. And then I guess we can kind of like finish up with like what I consider to be problem number 3 is that just Invoke is 100% better, right? The Invoke, it doesn't take work to do. It's not like an actual theme. Zoe kind of pushes it to being a theme. Like she has what looks to be like the future of Behold and cheap invokes as opposed to expensive invokes. But for the most part, you're just playing like understated value units that just turn into this monster train of value. You can turn. Even just looking at say like the Daybreak one, the Daybreak invoke, to where you can probably get a removal spell, or you can get a beefy unit in the warrior, or you can get some like evasion. Like the choices are so huge that it's extremely hard to have a bad invoke, and then like they can just be like, oh, by the way, I got the Scourge. It's just a 10-drop unit that wins the game, and so you're not even having to deal with playing like the expensive sea monsters that are just a pile of stats, and so. Like, what is this deck supposed to be good at, and like, how does this need to look to where it appears to be a real deck? I think I'm like spot on with how it needs to be, as to where you should have to be pushing it to play like Jettisons and Sap Magics and the Dredgers to really push to go deep super fast. But then you have to actually have the payoff as well, and so this used to be like kind of like the not like the best control deck, but it was the best late game thing, at least at the end of the Rising Tides. But now it's just like, why would you ever want to play this? It's not a good control deck. It's just completely outclassed by invokes. It's too hard to put together. As we went through this trial, I tiered off how we were going to do things to where, if it was a sea monster, that was tier 1. If it was a toss card, that was tier 2, and then everything else is just kind of like correcting our curve and removal spells. But we didn't even see like our tier 1 cards. We saw one of our tier 2 cards. We saw 2 salvages and 1 jettison. There may have been like 1 or 2 other toss cards in there. I don't remember, but I don't think there were. And so like you're just that's what happens when you're over here in Nautilus, and you're just like, oh, let's take some bubble bears and golden narwhals, and like, why are these cards even here? These have nothing to do with the theme of what we're trying to pull off. Like, why do I want to play pick a card? You don't need this to go deep. We're not drawing a whole bunch of cards for Slotbot. We're trying to toss them out of our decks, and so hopefully this is something that will kind of like course correct itself as more cards come out. I get that sea monsters were a bit of a chore. When the Rising Tides first came out, people bitched about it. I mean, they probably bitched about it the same amount people bitch about Invokes. You get, the new cards come out, you get in your expedition, you just lose 2 games and go to Reddit and start bitching. Like, I think that's, probably par for the course, the amount of bitching that happened with sea monsters and with Invokes. But I really wish that these kind of card pools would get revisited, kind of tuned up a bit, or just pulling. It's okay to say that there's not enough support in Expedition for Nautilus, just pull it. There's like 78, 80 some card pools running around now. Just do something. But to the end of the Salt Fest, I guess we'll let the saltiness end. Should you come out here and actually draft Nautilus, the ways I recommend this and how you can turn this deck into a winner. Step 1: don't start with Nautilus. It's too hard to find a secondary pool that works well. You really have to be either hitting Twisted Fate or you have to hit Maokai. We hit Thresh here. We thought this was going to be okay because it was in Shadow Isles and it has a toss card. Clearly it was not. And so I don't recommend taking Nautilus first. You have to take him second. And so if you start Twisted Fate, you can take Nautilus. If you start Maokai, which we also don't recommend you do, then you can take Nautilus. Otherwise, just let it go. There's just not enough support, and it's too high rolly to get this to work. Thing number 2 is, don't imagine yourself being this typical Jal Hunter style deck. This does not work. This is not what we're trying to do here. This is how Twisted Fate plays Sea Monsters. Nautilus can't do it. Now, don't make that sound like we don't want Jal Hunters. I'm saying this in the sense that you can't just be drafting a deck that is Jaw Hunters as your only sea monsters. You have to go out and physically draft sea monsters. And so that's how we do actually tier out this deck, is you have to take every sea monster you see. If you somehow manage to get yourself up to like 5 or 6 or 7 sea monsters, then sure, you can stop taking them. But if you're in this situation where you just see one throughout the entire draft, that sucks. I hope if you're running through your trial, you can at least find like 2 or 3 and then maybe trade into some more in your trade picks. But that is your tier 1 choice, is taking the sea monster. Your tier 2 choice is taking the good the good toss cards, that being Salvage, Deadbloom Wanderer. I can't remember the name. The 2-cost one, the 1/4, and to a lesser degree Jettison. Jettison, I'm not like super high on, but if you're under the impression that we're going to try to put down this deck that can reasonably hit toss on like turn 5 or turn 6, get like 2 sea monsters down by like turn 6 or turn 7 and go deep, then you have to be playing Jettisons. And so I think that's how I really kind of tier it out. Is tier 1 is your sea monsters. Tier 2, you're going to go and take toss cards. Tier 3 would just be like units that fit in your curve, and then also removal spells. And I think I would really lean towards fixing your curve, because like as you could see in this trial, our curve was super high. It wasn't really just a function of the cards that we drew. It was because our curve was just too high. And so you're really going to have to try to just take all the cheap cards that you can, so you don't end up in those situations to where it's turn 5 and all you can do is play a 3-drop, and then it's turn 7, all you can do is play 1 5-drop. Can't leave yourself in these spots to where you're just burning away mana. And so I think that's kind of it. I think this was a pretty good primer on everything Nautilus. If I got a little too salty for you, I'm sorry. It's just this was not a fun trial. Sometimes I just throw these videos away. I don't feel like I got ultra salty here, but I'm not a huge fan of playing this. Playing Teemo like 5 times was brutal, and I'm just glad that one's done. And so we made it through. Let's click on these rewards and see where we're at. All right, this is getting some of the older cards. Steel Tempest, help us finish out the Foundations collection. Oh, was that it? I think that was it. I saw the shiny thing down here on the store, and I thought that was going to mean we had more rewards, but I do believe that is it for today. And so that's going to do it for this one. Hope you all learned how to venture to the depths of the sea with Nautilus just a little bit better. You had a good time watching, and maybe had an educational moment or two. Everybody, this is Bust, and we thank you for being here.